What's going down, people? It's your boy Meyer Crawl back again with another episode of Here for the Dads podcast. You may recognize this face. I can't believe I'm actually getting a chance to sit down with this brother and have a conversation about fatherhood. I'm not going to spoil the intro. I'm going to get him to actually give his own intro so you can hear from his own mouth. Here we go. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad at all, man. So give me the long story, man, from the name all the way down to what you got going on right now. We kind of started a conversation before we hit record, but I want the people to hear from you.
So I'll give you the brief history. So I grew up in Houston, Texas, to a mom and a dad, both educators, both Black Christians. I got an older brother, older sister. I lived there until 9/11, which is very still mind blowing to this day. But after 9/11 happened, we moved up to Detroit. So that's how I remember it. We grew up in a real tight knit community. All the neighbors knew each other. Like I said, we all had African names. We grew up in a Pan-African church, Christian church. So really tied to Black struggle, Black empowerment. So that's what I grew up in. So really perfectionist, really militant, type of group, really ahead on academics and stuff. So I've always been kind of like a little book smart. But I came up here. I'm a musician, so I was a marching band kid.
Okay.
Played the drums in church, that sort of thing. And then I got into basketball. I went to Michigan State for journalism. And then I immediately didn't use my degree just like any other millennial. So I was in this funk, kind of figuring out what I'm gonna do in my life. I knew I wanted to connect with people. I knew I wanted to work with people, but I just didn't know how. So I got into education. So I've been in education since 2012. So
Okay.
right now I'm a teacher, academic counselor at a school up in the suburbs of Detroit. I'm not gonna give away everything like locations and stuff, but I married my wife. We met 5 years ago, and we have a boy, a 3-year-old. She's also in education. We both have similar goals. I want to get into college basketball and NBA front office. I got my master's in sports management. My wife is getting her doctorate. She's been in school since I met her. So we're both
Awesome.
kind of like pushing each other forward. And we had our baby during COVID. So that's when we had all this free time to kind of like take pictures and video. We were just with him every single day. So that's kind of how the social media thing happened. I have a friend, Wade Empire, who's real big on TikTok and IG. And I was just having conversation with him. He's like, you should do it. And I'm like, nobody wants to see anything from me. But I just started to notice like there was a narrative still when I had a baby, and you're sensitive to this stuff because you're a dad now. So there was a lot of male versus female arguments on social media. Like the narrative for Black dads still was not great. So my thought process was kind of like, I want to share positive images of Black fatherhood. I want to inspire other dads to kind of get excited and kind of like change that narrative. So that's why I started posting. And then things just started taking off, and now I kind of consider it like a way to provide for my family. There's no way you can predict these type of things, but I know that community out there is in need of representation, and it's just kind of like been a honor to kind of like put positive images out there. So that's how it started. Father's Day Club, literally what it means. I do hope to kind of take it national and have these type of conversations in a group setting. Maybe over brunch or something. So that was the idea. Father's Day Club, we get together. We got a lot of stuff to talk about that just doesn't get pushed to the forefront. So yeah,
Yes. That
that's
is
pretty
so
much,
true.
that's the long story / short story.
Whenever you have that bad boy, I don't care if it's in Michigan, let me know so I
No,
can
I'm
pull
trying
up
to
to the
take it.
Father's
I'm
Day
trying to
Club.
go city to city,
Oh,
literally city
say
to
less.
city. Yeah, city to city. So that's my goal. Just get to the point where I could do that. That's the goal. I don't care about the views or nothing. I'm trying to get to the point where we can bring people together and just go city to city and cry it out, whatever
Yeah.
we got to do to get everybody on the same page, because like I said, that narrative of Black fatherhood, that's not the reality no more. Like all of
Yeah.
us are out there, we're in our kids' lives, we're active, we're trying to correct trauma, we're trying to break curses. Like that's literally
Mhm.
what I see. So I'm just trying to be a part of putting that out there.
And what I do is love is now we get a chance to document it and have a chance to change that narrative.
Exactly.
Every father
Documenting
that
it.
I've
Yep.
seen who's like been getting into this space, it's good and it's rich to see. And it's good for our next generation too. The guys and
Hmm.
girls who are getting on TikTok who may be hearing this narrative or they heard the stereotype and they see people with this many followers or people doing it a different way than even what they might have seen. It's extremely important. What I want to ask you
Hmm.
too is what impact do you think it's had on your parenting experience?
So for me, it's just kind of made me more disciplined. Like we talked off air, kind of like how we have our things, like you might curse or get frustrated or that sort of thing. Like when I realized that my son is literally copying everything I do,
Yeah.
to the point where he's checking me now if I say like the S word, or me and his mom start to like get back and forth. He'd be like, guys, be quiet, or hey,
Yeah.
dad, don't say that. So it's just made me like more disciplined, literally, because he's watching everything I do. So it's like a mirror, literally staring back at you. Everything you do, everything you emulate, the environment you create is going to transfer to him in some way, shape, or form. So it's just made me more disciplined with my time. I can't just waste it.
Yeah.
Prior to him, I could just sit on the couch for 5 hours, get up, go to the gym, come back, cook when I wanted. I miss those times, but at the same time, I enjoy being more disciplined. I enjoy having to prioritize my family. And, that's where the magic happens, really.
Awesome. They kids and being married, like creating a family, very much so creates forceful backup for you. It
Hmm.
is every part of accountability. And most of the time it's accountability you didn't ask for. But it's about
Hmm.
the environment that you're setting and it comes back to you. And I know one
Hmm.
way, even in my house, because we have the same thing where we're not using bad words. So if I say, stupid or anything other than that, my son's going to check me in a
Hmm.
positive way. I
Hmm.
used to always, whenever my son gets home, I tell, hey man, when you come in the house, man, you come to daddy and you hug me. Like you give me a great big hug. And now it's gotten to a point where everybody's doing that. No matter how long you've been gone, if
Hmm.
you get to the door, we run to the door with energy. And most of the times I'm meeting him with that same energy. He's happy and I'm happy. But there has been moments when I've gotten into the house and I'm extremely like tired, or maybe I just got yelled at by the boss, so I'm trying to figure something out and I don't
Right.
remember that, he's going to run with that type of positive energy. But because that's something that we built in the home, it's always been an
Yeah.
extreme help. I'd never know when I'm really going to need that energy. So I love
It's a
that.
reality check. Yeah.
It
It's a
is.
reality check. Like here, you're here. You can't be who you were before you walked in. And I notice if I don't come in with that same energy, it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't flow through the family. So I have to I'm glad you said that because you hold me accountable. I have to come in, speak to my wife, hug my son. He runs up to me every time, but be intentional about how I'm treating them as I come home. Got to shed all that stuff that we just brought in the door at the door. So definitely need to work on that for sure.
And it's and I know you're probably doing it the right way because I've seen the way you and your son even communicate, and I just kind of see the relationship grow through watching it on social media. And we have to be intentional about doing that, and it's not always easy. The way I see it is almost because I'm in the military, so I see everything in either in pictures or I see it in one way that we use in the operations. And for us, it's kind of like a decon station. That's how I see the front room of our house. So if we're ever in any type of chemical warfare, you can't come from outside the skin of the ship to inside the skin of the ship without completely rinsing off, getting water down, rinsed down by everybody that's in there, and then moving to the safe space, which is the ship. And that's what our family does with our love and their energy and positivity. Once we build that environment, you step inside of the house and they completely decontaminate you from everything that was going on outside of the house, all the negativity, all the woes, like that all gets done right there because now you're coming into the safe space. You want to make sure those people are safe as well. So that's good. Can you tell
So
me about your? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you tell me about the military thing. Like like the brief rundown. Like how did you get into it? What exactly do you do?
Oh
Real
yeah.
quick.
So I went to the Naval Academy, played football at Navy, where I actually met my wife.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting to do that. That was probably the best thing that could have happened. Football was awesome, but I met my wife. She graduated a year before me. So we both joined and commissioned in 15 and 16. We went straight to
Okay.
Norfolk, Virginia, and our
Right.
primary job is to drive ships. That's like what we do. We drive warships.
Okay.
We learn about things like chemical warfare, nuclear warfare, weaponry, and then I kind of found my niche. It was anti-terrorism and force protection. So teaching people how to
Okay.
traverse the ship using weapons, keeping the ship safe on and off land, things of that nature. And I've been doing it
So
for quite some
so
time now.
mentally, is there like a two different sides to you, like personality wise, or are you able to kind of like be who you are in the middle through all of that? Because I know, like when we think military, we think like trauma, like PTSD type of thing. But mentally, how is it for you jumping into both sides of life like that? Is it
I can
intense?
say, yeah, it can be intense. I can't say for the first couple years it was pretty hard to try to mesh those two things together because when you're in the military, everything is very straightforward. It's written down. A lot of times, excuses aren't held the right way, and you can't use your emotions and things like that. Or at least you don't think you can. The culture is what's different.
Right. Right.
But the idea around mental health and the culture is starting to change with this generation in the military and outside of it. So I would say within these
Hmm.
last couple of years, I've been trying to find a way that I can be more compassionate, not only in my home, but in my workspace, because I realize these
Hmm.
soldiers and sailors are going through the same things we're going through at home. So
Right.
instead of being
Right.
very, rigorous, everything is black and white. I've been trying to find a way to bring positivity and move into the gray space a little bit more. And I think it's been a little bit different for me because my wife's also in the military.
Right.
So some of the words and the way I'm speaking, she can kind of acclimate to that. But she will tell me sometimes, like, "Hey, babe, you need to leave. You need to leave that at work. This is not how we operate in our home." So,
Right. No,
as an
I couldn't
educator, though, how do
imagine.
you mix that into
Go
your
ahead.
home?
Well, we're just on top of everything, and we have great debates before. Like we're great planners, so you're never gonna catch us not knowing what the milestones are, or for the upcoming year. And we're like very planny, very calendar oriented. Like we got a big calendar over there on the wall, has the dates, the appointments,
There
the
we go.
Christmas show, all that stuff. So that's pretty much the benefit. We kind of like are comfortable doing research and looking up things and we don't know, we're gonna read a book. Like we're not just gonna ask our grandmothers, even though we do talk to our parents, but we kind of like are very nerdy in terms of like researching. So before I was a parent, I read like 5 books and that made me feel comfortable and more confident in what we're doing. And then we're naturally able to adapt because we have all that information. So that's kind of like how education plays a factor. And we're good with kids.
Yeah.
I coach basketball as well. So that's kind of like just my calling is kids. It's always been kids. My mom was a early childhood specialist and I grew up in a nursery with all these other kids and she was kind of running it. So it just kind of rubbed off. And I happened to marry a teacher and that was kind of like one of the best things that ever happened to me too, because she like I said, she's on that calendar, she's on that timetable. We got to get a house, blah blah blah. We got to
Yeah.
save for the baby. Like
Goals,
that's just
milestones,
so,
all that
yeah,
stuff.
exactly something for me that kind of like settled me down, because my 20s was like a thing. Like my friends would tell you they never thought I was gonna settle down.
I'm
Never,
there
never,
with you,
never,
bro.
never. And I wasn't running the streets. I was just like, no, she's not the one. Like every month, like, no, no, she's not the one. And my dad could probably tell you the same thing, but my wife grounded me and made me more, of a planner. Yeah.
That's awesome. There was something you said talking about you research and doing some education for yourself before
Hmm.
having kids, like reading 5 books. Can you talk about how that's important or why you think that's important for parents before they have kids to really try to ground themselves with some type of either education by a book or networking, whatever that might be?
What most people don't know is that though that first year is gonna set that kid for the rest of their life. It's not so much of you can like evolve and grow. Like you literally, the environment you create for that kid in that first year is who they are.
Mm,
They're gonna have either be a really anxious kid or a really like reserved kid or a really outgoing, well spoken. You know what I'm saying? Like literally the environment you create. So I was terrified of like being too loud or being too, too aggressive or like when I was reading books, it kind of settled me into it's a book my dad gave me that was like the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus author.
yeah,
He
I've
wrote a
seen
book
that.
about personality types. So it was like children are from heaven. And it says, these are the different type of categories of personality and this is how you handle that. This is how you set the boundaries. So that kind of like let me know my son was going to be a certain way and how to handle it. And literally, his personality is literally that's how he is all the time. And so we
Wow.
just had to be structured and disciplined, and he needs to be redirected. And when he gets frustrated, we literally just, hey, what about this? And he's back, you know. So I knew how to handle him based on that. And like I said, my people around me gave me advice, but those books with the facts and the research just kind of like made me more comfortable, because when you had a baby, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Even being pregnant is terrifying. You're literally fearful, like, man, is my baby gonna make it? Where's the heartbeat? We need to hear the heartbeat. We had one of those little monitors, put it on our belly,
Hmm.
and it was like just scaring ourselves,
Yeah,
literally
bro.
every day. So the books kind of like I said, they give you the blueprint, and of course you're gonna learn trial by fire, but that first year is very important. Literally, everything you set up for them to do is going to be who they're expecting you to be every day and who they're going to be in terms of how they react to people. So, luckily, we had a lot of loving people around him in the first year. So, he was able to attach to different people and understand, being social. And it was pretty safe and quiet as much as possible. And he was with both of us because we were kind of working from home during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So he had a really good head start. A good mix of everything, activities, stimulation. We talked to
Hmm.
him. We went outside and walked. He went to the Grand Canyon. Like
See,
literally,
that's
he had
dope.
like the best like first year run that
Yeah.
I would have never had. This type of stuff. Yeah, he had everything. Yep,
And we're in the information age, man. Like, there's no reason why anybody should have any excuse for
I
not
agree.
being able to find something. Like, I can say that there's a lot of spaces that are either closed door, where it's extremely private. Maybe you can't get into those spaces to talk about it, or you don't feel comfortable talking about it. What we're doing
Hmm.
right now is making it more comfortable to talk about it. The information is going to be somewhere, but there's different narratives and different truths to different stories that we need to hear so nobody feels alone. And I love having a
Yeah.
conversation about the village and the network that you were just mentioning. And for me and my wife, being in the military for almost 10 years now, we want to get closer to that village again. We have, and I
Yeah.
don't want to just say we don't have a village here, because everywhere you go, it's best to try to build one. So we have,
Hmm.
the friends and stuff like that. But a lot of our friends are either military or they have kids, and sometimes we feel burdened trying to ask, for a babysitter, or asking, different favors here and there. And
Mm.
of course, they understand. But we're going to be hopefully moving back to Georgia at some point, getting closer to her family, allowing our kids to be
Yeah.
with their cousins, and maybe get a little bit more control over our time so we can do things like
Mm.
travel. But you just said so much in this last answer, talking about the different books and understanding what your own personality is, and what your child's is, and how to feed them and love them where they
Hmm.
are. So that's extremely, I think that's not only valuable, but extremely affirming for me, because I'm trying to sit here and trying to figure it all out with my four kids. And I realize every single one of them's different. And I'm trying to,
Mm.
tailor what I believe to be best. I think it's going to be extremely helpful for me to be able to have a book. And it's been helpful for me to even have this conversation. But how has sharing your parenting moments on social media strengthened your connections with other dads and the parenting community online?
Well, it lets me know that I'm doing some things right. You don't want to struggle in silence. So that's one thing I would say to you. Like everything you're experiencing, somebody out there is going through the same exact thing. So literally, people may think that we're staged or we're like making things up, but no, literally, how it happens is he's literally doing something, and as parents, we're always like thinking, "Oh, this is so cute. This is so literally, we're recording what's actually happening in our life. And when
Yeah.
people connect to that, they realize, dang, like you deal with that too. So once I started to
Mhm.
notice that, that was kind of like my outlet. Like I'm not complaining, but I'm just sharing the reality of parenting. And that's how I'm able to connect with other parents. And they say, oh, have you seen this book, or have you tried this snack, or used this
Yeah.
medicine? So that's the community that keeps me coming back. It's just like, I've been able to connect with a lot of mothers. You know, I don't know, women run social media, I feel like. So they
Yeah,
like are the
they
tastemakers.
do, man.
They're like the tastemakers. So most of my following is literally mothers, young mothers, middle-aged mothers that kind of like started like protecting me almost when I first started
Yeah,
posting. You know, you get the hate, you get the love, and most of
yeah,
my following is just protective aunties, literally that just
yeah.
like,
There we go.
yeah, like he's smart, he's young, he's this, he's, you know, he has a voice, he, so just loving on this, and that kind of like allowed me to be like, okay, so I'm not the only one that sees it this way. So yeah, community is very important, and that's kind of like what you find when you put yourself out there. So you got to be vulnerable. If you're going to do this, you have to be honest. You can't try to be like polished. You can't hide certain things. And I literally am not afraid to tell you, you know, the struggles that we have as a parent or the good things. So that's
Yeah,
just what I try to convey. Just be as real and authentic as possible, because it's kind of hard to navigate through the BS. You know, BS when
yeah.
you see it on social media. You can
Mhm.
just be always happy, or you could always be sad. You know, there's kind of
Yep.
like those two extremes. But the reality is that you're not gonna have good days every day. You're not gonna have bad days every day. So I try to be as even kill as I can in terms of just what's really happening today. And if we don't want to record anything and post it, we're not going to. I don't post every day because I don't,
Yeah.
that's not my goal. My goal is to translate something authentic, and if I don't have anything to post, I'm not going to post it. So that's just kind of been my experience, is that when you real, you know, people are gonna have authentic engagement and conversation, and you know, that's just kind of like the community that you'll see once you start putting it out there. But you got to be putting it out there.
No, you have to, and that's not the first time I've heard somebody talk about like the community that you see on Instagram, especially when you're talking about parenting. We had a comedian Ja'Cory on here a couple of
Hmm.
weeks ago, and he was mentioning, some of those. He said middle-aged white women who are parents, they get on there and they just somebody might say something stupid or try to come at him about, maybe privacy or navigating privacy boundaries or whatever, or maybe just the
Oh
way he's
yeah.
parenting. And those moms will
Hmm.
come for you. It's like he has his own personal beehive. So it's cool to hear that you've also experienced that. How do we as men and as fathers come into that same space so that we're able to protect our own when we hear things like
Hmm.
that? Because I see it on my wife's page all the time too.
No, I struggle with this. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I struggle with not being able to respond to everybody. Like
Mm,
that's the part that bothers me. But of course, you know, I'm able to balance my real life with what people are saying. Like what people are saying is going to be extreme, is going to be left field because they don't actually know you. So it's just
yeah,
like that little snapshot. You got to understand that they're saying 1% of your reality.
hardly,
It's not the
hardly
whole
even one
picture. So
percent.
their judgment is literally a snapshot judgment. So I struggle. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna respond to as many comments as I can. I'm gonna let you hear it, because you're not just gonna bully me online or try to say
Yeah,
something about my son. But my wife was telling me literally the other day, like, it's unprofessional. I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, if they can say something, I have
they
the right to
said
say
to do
something
that,
back.
right?
I respond to the good. Why can't I
Yeah,
respond to the bad? You know, but just
yeah,
what I realized is you're never gonna please everybody in that space. So if you're protecting your kids' identities, you're protecting their
mm,
location, you're protecting
yeah,
their integrity, then there's nothing wrong with being honest. I'm not, and it's the thing. People say, when you take off, people are gonna say, "Oh, you're just posting for clout." Like, no, I was
yeah,
posting before I got a following.
yeah,
I'm posting
yeah.
the same thing I was posting before I took off. I don't
Mm,
choose who follows me. I don't choose who's
yeah,
inspired by me. I don't choose who likes me. Literally, I'm just sharing what I deem important or valuable. That's my
yeah,
contribution. If people gravitate to it, they gravitate to it. So mentally, you just have to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, people comments are going to shake you to your core. But
mm,
I know when I put the phone down, my
yeah.
reality is similar to what I'm showing online. It's the
That's it.
same. So
Yeah,
as long as I can be comfortable with that, then what people say doesn't matter, because I'm trying to break through to you. I'm trying to break
yeah.
through to the next dad. I'm trying to. build that community. So that's got to be the forefront, because the like you said, the Karens or the other aunties, not the protective
Yeah,
aunties, the other one, they're coming no matter
yeah,
what.
it will
And I
come
know
for
my
you.
intentions. So as long as I know my intentions, I can live with people judging me, because honestly, you're never going to see these people. It's literally just a number. It's a number,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
100 million people will feel the same way. So you don't have to worry about the left and the right of it. You know, there's gonna be some people on the right, some people on the left. So I just
yeah.
focus on what I like, and I post what is funny and genuine to me, and let everything else play out how it is. But I
Bro,
am gonna respond 100%. That's my struggle. Like, I'm gonna say something, and
yeah,
that's where
it's
I
gonna be
gotta
some.
like, yeah, yeah. Yep. I got to learn how to separate it, because you got to know the reality, and you
Yeah,
live with that reality every day. So if it matches, if you're showing things that is genuinely who you are, what else can you ask for?
yeah, and that's really, I think people get a little bit too used to seeing things that are unauthentic, like the super clean houses and things like that. And that was, I have kind of two questions that I want to put together. I'm only going to do one at a time, so I don't mix
Yeah.
them all up. But you mentioned privacy, and then you mentioned authenticity, so I'll go with privacy first. Have you personally faced any challenges regarding sharing on social media and creating private boundaries around like your family? How do you create that?
So I know that this has a shelf life for me and my son. I know that because I've struggled with having regular interactions with people since we took off on social media a little bit. It's kind of like
Mm.
people want to talk to me about TikTok all the time. And I don't want to talk about TikTok. I want to talk about how was your day? Like, what have you been
Yeah,
up to? Like, but every time I like, and then, people are going to see this, whatever. Stop talking to me about TikTok. I want to talk about you. I want to
I'm
talk
still a
about,
normal
normal
person.
things. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's not reality. That's just like a small part of our, of who we are.
yeah,
So I've had to find myself blurring out my son's, like, he goes to a private school, blurring out the logo,
I saw that. Mhm.
but if he's doing something, he just happens to be wearing his school shirt, I'm not going to miss that moment. If he's
Yeah,
like doing something for the first time and I'm recording it and I want to share it, like, I have to be mindful that the more information that's out there, the more people can do something with it. So I kind of
yeah.
have to be careful about, just geolocation, that
Hmm.
whatever the word is, that sort of
Yeah, no,
thing, where
that's
people
it.
can't say like, you're here at this time,
Yeah,
like, you don't know what people are going to do with that. So
that's
that's the
so
only
true.
thing I've been seeing. And then as far as, if he doesn't want me to post it, or my wife doesn't want me to post it, I have to take it down. I have
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
He's seen every TikTok video since he was one. He knows them. If he does not like it, I'm taking it down. And I'm
for
going to
sure.
give him that autonomy as far as he wants it to go. If he tells me that one day, like, I get it now. I'm
Hmm.
this person on this app and people know me as this, and it's too much. I don't like it. I'm going to
Yeah,
stop doing it. So it's kind of like I got to make good decisions. I have
yeah,
some videos that we posted before that were kind of controversial, and, TikTok took them down, or my wife will say, I don't really like this. So I say, okay, I weigh it in my head. And if I think
yeah,
it's fine, because I feel like I'm a reasonable person, I'll leave it. But eventually, it's about those two, because I'm representing our family. So that's just kind of how I approach it. If it's too far or it's too much, I take it down or don't post it.
yeah.
And I give my son the choice to, you like this video? If he's laughing and he thinks it's okay, I leave it up. If my wife doesn't like it, I delete it. And if my family's fine with me, then nothing else matters, because at the end of the day, we're who we are. We can't not
Yeah.
be who we are. So if we're representing ourselves the right way and they're on board with it, then it's fine. So privacy wise, if they don't like it, I don't post it. If it's not authentic, I
I
don't
like that.
post it. Yeah.
I like that because you're respecting your own boundaries and the boundaries that your family has, and you're listening to
Yeah,
them. It's
cuz
not, like you said, it's never about the content. It's never
right.
about the money or the likes or anything like
Right,
that. And you
exactly.
have to be grounded and firm in that first. I was remember listening to Belief on Instagram, He has a really big following, and I think he does a really good job and always has at documenting what it looks like to be a black father in America, working with your family, building relationships with them. And as his kids come to age, they're having that same conversation. It's like, hey, I see that, I don't like it. And maybe they feel either a little bit insecure or it has something to do with school and friends. And he's like,
Hmm.
okay, cool. Like, I'll take it down. He might have an agent or a content manager who's like, yeah, why would you do that? But they aren't the
Yeah,
ones who have to deal with that in their home. So you
yeah,
had some. I saw you
exactly.
side there. What are you thinking?
It's kind of like I feel like I'm doing something beneficial for him because a lot of people don't come into the world with a platform. You know, if we
Yeah.
keep doing what we're doing, he's going to be able to take this platform and go wherever he wants to go with it. If he's in
Mm,
sports, he'll
wow.
have a he'll have a high recruiting profile. If he's in science, he'll be able
Yeah.
to create his own community with, math and so it's just like
Yeah.
I know his personality. He's into music, he's into theater, he's into acting. Like that's his lane, and if he wants to pursue that, this is just something he has in his back pocket. But as well on the
Wow.
financial side, when you start taking off on social media, opportunities come. So these are
Yeah.
relationships that we can manipulate for him to get into, if he wants to model, if he wants to sing, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And literally, when we get paid from something, it goes straight to his tuition, it goes straight to
Yep.
diapers, clothes, shoes, and the savings account. So
Yep.
we have two college funds for him through the state of Michigan. So they offer a tuition one and a flex
Hmm.
one. And we literally put half in the savings, half towards him, and we put some in his college. So I feel like as long as I'm doing right by him, then he
Yeah.
can say no to that when he
Yeah.
wants to, but I'm doing right by him. And a lot of people won't give you credit for that or care about that. They just want to say, oh, he shouldn't be posting them. But
Man, I love that
a million people in America post about their kids every day for free,
every day
every
for
day
free.
for free. And just because
Yeah.
people are watching mine, it's a problem. But
Right.
as
Like,
long as I'm doing right by him, as long as I'm doing right by him, I will keep it going. And then if he
yeah.
doesn't want to do it, we just can't do it. So, yeah, yeah, it's a
I've
good
never heard that
business
before.
opportunity. Yeah,
Like the
it's a good
the
business opportunity for
understanding
everything.
that you're building his profile and you're going to be
Yeah,
able to use that because the network only gets bigger. Like
I
the
agree.
financial
Yeah.
piece is one thing and you're folding it back into him, but not only is the network getting bigger, when it's time for him to really decide what it is that he wants to do and he has this type of profile, people will be able to use what they've seen on his profile, right? And
Hmm.
judge his character because they do that already. If we were going to go out and get a
Right.
job, they're going to check your Facebook, they're going to check your
Yeah.
Instagram, and when they see that he has this long standing of people who can say like this, they got a
Vouch for him.
450,000 followers, right, or whatever. Like
Right.
he's a type of person that these people are following, and you can actually go to the
Hmm.
content and hear some of his opinions, things that he
Hmm.
does on a daily basis. And that's man, that is beautiful. I've never even tried to put it together like that. And I'm glad that you're helping me also understand that you can still protect your family and keep boundaries because for me, like having that force protection background, naturally I
Hmm.
automatically get a little afraid when I start talking about things online. And because I've seen it happen
Mm.
in the intel world and how easy it is for adversaries or opponents to get that type of information and use it in the wrong way. But it's good to know that even without training, you can still protect what you need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. But that's the
I
thing.
think you're
Like
doing it the right way.
once reality starts to mesh with his online stuff or our online stuff, I'm gonna
Mhm.
automatically take a step back. I'm not gonna put him in a position where he can't live a normal life. Like, of
Yeah,
course, people are gonna be like, "Yeah, you're on TikTok, whatever." But at the same time, if he can handle it, then there's
yeah,
no need to kind of slow down because, like I said, the platform is great for anybody I'm affiliated with if I can manipulate a partnership. So, say for instance, I have a friend that has a business, I can promote their business, and I'm not able to do that without that platform. So I
Yeah.
look at it as I'm elevating everything around me to the point where I can support or empower, or like I said, turn something into like, I can get this deal on the table for you because of, what we've done here. So that's how I look
Yeah.
at it. If he
That's
starts
good.
to, if his real life starts to be affected, it's over. And it hasn't been
Yeah.
that way because we haven't posted every day. We don't share everything that
Yeah.
he will be able to even feel some of that. So yeah, that's
And that's
been the
only in
main
a negative
goals.
way too,
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
can
I
definitely, like
agree.
you're
Yeah.
talking about, like in a positive way. I mean, depending on what field he wants to get in. I know for a fact
Yeah.
there's actors and other celebrities who, as they come of age, they're like, hear people talk to their father and be like, "Man, you helped me through this situation in my life, and I appreciate it. Like, you don't even know what I
That
went
has to be
through," and blah blah
powerful.
blah blah.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be able to hear that. He's gonna be able to see the minds and the hearts and the people that you're touching, and that only
Mm.
opens up a little bit more, because as a 3-year old, he only knows he's having fun with his dad. Like, he has
Right,
no clue really
exactly.
what you're doing for other fathers. So that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing to document. But I want to get into
Yeah.
authenticity a little bit. How do you balance
Yeah.
authenticity and positivity when sharing your parental experience? And what advice do you have for dads who may feel pressured to portray like that
Mm.
perfect image?
Well, the reality is if it's too polished or too unrealistic, nobody's gravitating to it anyway. It's gonna have a
Mm,
shelf life. But if you, and I've heard this saying a lot, you are the content. You are the content. So if you have to dig too far deep or too far left or right to get something out, then that's probably not something you should be sharing. So as far as the authenticity thing, my style is like kind of like a guerrilla warfare type of shooting tactic where when you're not supposed to see this happening, I'm going to pull the phone out and try to capture that moment because I'm
mm,
aware that that's kind of like my thing. That's my niche.
yeah.
Like, he's in the middle of about to break a bottle. Like he got it in his hand and he's like frustrated and he's about to slam it. I'll pull the phone out and have the same conversation I'm having with him, just with the phone in my hand. So I'll be like, Noah,
Mm,
stop, chill, man. I don't understand why you feel like you need to do this right now. But I'll have the phone in my hand. A lot of people might feel like that's staged, but it's
yeah.
not. It's happening whether I showed it to you or not.
Yep.
I'm just
Right now.
that's the tactic that I use. So I realize when I show things that people don't normally get to see, that's like refreshing. So that's kind of
Mm,
been my tactic, and that's the way I can do it. Like if nothing's happening, I'm not posting. But if there's something interesting or something like that people normally don't get to see, that's when I pull my phone out. So we could be at a restaurant, and I know this is kind of like a new age thing to do, like pull your phone out. But that's literally the
yeah.
only way I
Yeah. For
can
some people.
share. Yeah, like that's like frowned upon. Like you supposed to be in the moment, a lot of the times, and 99% of our year we are in the moment. I'm only
Yeah.
sharing 1%. Like if you
Hmm.
look at the timestamps, I don't post for months sometimes because we're like busy. We're frustrated with this, or a
Oh wow.
change is happening in our family,
Mhm.
and we get busy, or we're not together. When he goes to school, I work from home, luckily, but my wife works in a building, so all three of us are not together. It's very rare that I'll get an epiphany like, yeah, I need to record myself and share this. Usually the inspiration comes when we're all together and those
Yeah.
family things are happening. So with authenticity, I would just say like you have to be willing to take those moments and bottle them up and convey them as truly as and as realistically as you can, because that is what people need to see or hear, and that's what's
Yeah.
going to get across. So if you're not willing to share what people aren't seeing, then you're not going to be able to connect with them genuinely. So you can have a stick, but that's going to wear off.
Yeah.
If you're too happy or too sad, people are going to
Mhm.
see through it eventually. So I try to
That's
stay
true.
somewhere in the middle. I don't want to share trauma online and trigger people. I don't want to be too happy and make people mad. That's
Yeah.
something that's always in the back of my head. So I just try to, what really happened? Just show what really
That's
happened.
it.
Try
Just
not to
report it.
make it, yeah, try not to leave it too edited. just to
Hmm.
the nitty gritty, what happened. This is what I'm posting, and you're not gonna like everything, but
And I
that's
can't say
just the
it's been
reality.
helpful, bro. It really is. It's been helpful for me for sure. Like I got a 3 year old myself, and my
Hmm.
5 year old's about to turn 6, and he's been 3 before. And everything that you share is like I've been there. Like this is exactly this is exactly what I'm talking about. For me, the funniest one was when you were in bed and you reached over. He was like, "These weren't the cheeks that I was trying to grab." Like that was
No.
me last night, bro. Like last night. I had a great night. I was
Yeah,
chilling, got in bed with my wife. You know, you sometimes you might just, wake up and you never know you're gonna get lucky, right? And you look over
yeah,
and I start reaching, and that's not my wife. That is
yeah,
a naked
exactly.
little small bird
But
chest.
you want to know the funny thing is, my family is literally sleep, and I get woken up, and I'm uncomfortable now. So instead of just going back to sleep, I'm like, okay, this is crazy, but I'm gonna pull my phone out and show you guys like what's happening right now. So
Yes,
that's
man.
my thing, and it's not necessary, but it doesn't bother them because they're already asleep. So it's kind of like
Yeah, it knocked
this
out.
is yeah, this is a real thing that's happening right now to me, and I know it happens to other people. He didn't start in our bed; he started in
Right.
his room, but somehow he's in our room. It literally takes 1 minute, and it might seem extreme to some people, but I literally just pick up my phone, record him, record what I did. That actually happened. Like
Hmm.
I woke up, like and then I put it down and go to sleep. That's literally like
I
it
love
sounds
it though,
extreme,
bro.
but that's how it
It doesn't.
happens.
It doesn't because you're also giving a perspective to your family. Like
Hmm.
I right now wish that I could live in the moments that my father did with me growing up.
Hmm.
Cause some of the things I don't even think
Uh,
to ask him, like, hey,
that's
dad, like how
yeah.
was it when you were potty training me? How was it when I did I ever have like any
Mm,
dietary things? Like how was it my first day of school? How did you
right,
react when I was playing sports for the first time? I don't
right.
think to ask my dad that. Sometimes I don't even get the time to. So you putting it in this time capsule and actually invest in the time to document it, it not
Yeah,
only shows everybody that it's going to help. A couple years down the road, you're going to be able to show him, and he'll have those things answered. It'll be funny for him, or even if you're being
yeah,
vulnerable, he'll be
yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, so during that time when you used to come home and during like la la la, you just kind of seem different. That's because you lost your job and you're trying to figure out how you were going to provide." Like
Mm,
that makes so much more
mm.
sense to me now, Dad. And I have a respect for you and thank you for being able to get out of that. Like all of that stuff is building perspective, and sometimes
No, that's
perspective can
that's
build
crazy.
forgiveness
Cause,
so much. So
cause your
you're doing a
parents.
lot, man.
No, your parents and my parents, they documented things through Polaroid pictures, like photo books and VHS
Yep,
tapes. So it's the same
yep,
thing. It's just a different format. So it
that's
might
it.
it might be like a super like frowned upon thing, but it's the same thing when they pulled out that camcorder and they
Yeah.
recorded Christmas, or they took those pictures and you're in your underwear, you spill spaghetti on your
Hmm.
shirt, like it's the same. It's literally the same thing.
Yeah,
And those memories to me are like every time my dad pulls out, oh, I found an old photo album. Like I've
it's
never seen this
gold,
stuff, Dad. Like where is this coming from? It makes me
man.
happy. It ties me
It,
back to who I am as a person at my core. Like it
yeah,
just grounds me. So I know that like that is another reason why I do what I do, because it's like I'm documenting everything that is important to me. And the
yeah,
byproduct of that is you get to see yourself in like a beautiful way, because I'm kind of like
yeah.
romanticizing it by, like you said, just catching the little things, and there's so
Hmm.
much that I don't post, like you have no idea. I have like hundreds of
I can't
videos
even
that
imagine,
I've
bro.
never posted. So when people want to say anything, like just imagine what I'm not showing, because
Yeah,
there's very real moments that happen every day, whether it's negative or
absolutely.
positive, and
Hmm.
I'm choosing very carefully, not to overshare. Like I'm not
Yeah,
posting hundreds and hundreds of videos, like literally everything is happening every day, and just like our parents, we're documenting it, and I'm just choosing to post whatever inspires me, and
yeah.
I'm holding back, literally holding back 99% of our life, you know I'm
And the
holding
thing
back
is, you still
99%.
have it though. That's the cool part about it is because you have it, you'll be able to use it really any way that you really want to. Either if it's going to be just
Yeah.
for you and your wife, or you want to put it
Mm,
on, Google Drive to save and to just keep moving on. It's going to be
mm,
years and years down the road where you're going to be able to just look back at those moments, even if you forgot it, because we forget sometimes too. Either we might remember
yep.
only the bad of a certain season, or we might only
Right.
remember the good. And sometimes mixing and getting those pieces back is what helps us move forward in a different season. So that's really cool. What I
Yeah.
want to hear about is maybe some of your challenges, like initially getting into fatherhood, or maybe even something you're going through right now. I know in the very beginning you kind of mentioned scaring the mess out of yourself just listening to that heart
Yeah.
monitor. I've been there
Yeah.
before, thinking about like either our child, or even for me, like thinking about my wife. With having a
Mm,
child, the first time you already have those things that are kind of scary and makes you anxious. People just think when you have another child, it just gets easier and easier every time. You might be
no,
a
no,
little bit
no,
more
no.
prepared about the process,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get any easier. Every child's different. Like I can be on baby number 4 or 5, and I can lose my wife right then and there. That will completely
Mm,
change everything. So I
mm.
want to hear from you, maybe some of the challenges that you've gone through, or maybe something that you're dealing with right now.
So this is where I'm happy to be able to like share like things that you don't get to see. So like our first couple weeks, me and my wife were both terrified. So we were judging each other like so hard, like so hard. Like I'm almost ashamed of how like confrontational and how like judgmental we were towards each other. Just like you're doing it wrong. No, you're doing it wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. Like literally the first couple weeks, and then once we started to catch our wind or catch our rhythm, like we just took off. But the first
Yeah,
couple weeks was kind of like me versus her. It was literally
I've been
like,
there, bro.
you don't know what you're doing. Give me my baby. Like that's how
Yeah,
it was. But like I said, we had to be grounded in what the experts were saying, what the doctors were saying, and kind of form a team. So ever since we approached everything like us versus the baby, like
bro.
we've
I
been
know.
solid. Like literally, me and you, nobody can get through this. So
Yeah.
we took off as a family when we were on the same page about everything, the routine. So when we had to sleep train him, when we had to make a boundary and not let him break through, and we had to
Hmm.
like, develop these routines, like we stuck to them together.
How did
When
y'all
he
two
was
get on
crying,
that same page?
well, it might sound cliche, but we went to premarital counseling.
Not cliche at all. That sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
but so
That
before we
sounds
got
awesome.
married, we went to a faith-based counselor. So she had like a list of questions, and we had to discuss everything from religion to death to finances to everything. And if we were not compatible, we would know right then and there. Because you
Mm,
can't build a team with somebody that does not agree with fundamentally who you are. So
that's
it
it.
was literally from top to bottom, are we compatible in terms of partners? So we did
Mhm.
that. And then, like I said, we took those classes through the hospital before pregnancy, and we read the books and that sort of thing. So we became better as a team because we used the resources that were there. We both had the app, I want to give y'all this, but I'm
Please
not
give it to the
remembering
people,
what it
man.
is.
And
So
if
it's
not,
called
I'll find a
the,
way to put it on there later. But
what is it called? But it's an app that it follows the baby from like in the belly all the way out. Oh, my wife's gonna
oh, I
kill me.
know what you're talking
What is
about.
it called? But
There's
it's
a couple
like
of them.
you check
Sony,
it.
did y'all use that? It's like the baby is the size of a, you know what I'm saying? It just
Yeah, the
says it,
size of
throws
a
it on there.
crayon or the size of an
Yeah,
apple. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I
forgot the
don't remember
name,
the
but
name of it, man.
it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's right there.
I remember
It's
exactly what
purple.
it looks like too. Yeah, I'm about to say it's
It's
purple. I know what it
It's
looks like.
purple. So yeah, so
I
my
just have it
wife
on my
got me
phone.
on that app. We'll find it. We'll find it. Hold on, hold on.
Yeah, I
What
was
to
about to say
expect?
at this
What to
point,
expect? What to
what
expect?
to
That's what it's
expect?
called.
There we go. There we go.
So my wife got that, and she put me on it. So literally we were synced up from day one. We were have
Mhm.
conversations about it. All right, here's what's coming up, what we need to prepare the house this way, we need to put the mats here, and so we were on top of it from day one. And then we used that to kind of like solve our discrepancies. So when we weren't agreeing on stuff, we'll go back to, okay, what does it say? do this. Okay, let's trust them and let's do it this way. So since he came out, we got over that judgmental phase, and we literally just
Yeah.
started to sync up. Like, okay, what does it say? So let's do this. Make sure this. So that's how we approach it, and we double teamed him. When he was stubborn
There
and
we
he was
go.
fussing, he was crying,
Yeah.
I'd be like, nope, don't get up, don't go in there. He has
Yeah.
to let him cry for a little
That's
bit,
good.
and we'll go check on him, and then we'll say it's okay, but and we come back, no, let him cry, let him get through it, So we just had to hold each other to the standard. This is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna stick to it. We're not gonna let the baby finesse his way out of it. The
Bro, because the
boundaries,
baby
all that
will
stuff.
finesse. The
hmm
baby will finesse their way out. They have so much more strength than they even think they have. When
Bro, they
a
can cry for
baby's
3 hours.
crying for 3 hours
For
straight,
three
and
hours.
and it's some different parts of that. It works differently in each one of us, right? I had a conversation yesterday with two of my best friends, and we got to having conversations about like being overloaded and overstimulated, or
Wow. Yes, that's
um,
very real.
dang, what's the other thing? It was something else that we had a conversation about, but um, his wife started saying like even when they hear the baby cry, there's hormones and different things that it's doing to them that it may not be doing to us. And in the
Mm,
same verse, we started having just different conversations, and it was so
mm,
good for us to have that and kind of flesh that out, because when you're on the same page and you know the other person's heart and you're both completely invested, when those things come about and you start to get a little bit weak because you're overstimulated, sleep deprived, you have your partner to
mm.
back you up. And it's
And
like, no,
that's what
babe,
it has to be.
don't go in there.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. No, it has to be that way because the baby's going to test your limits, your patience, your discipline, your
Mhm.
character. Like
Yep.
I had for the first couple months, and you won't understand this until I say it, but the baby hated me. The baby hated me, literally.
I might. I think I know what.
It doesn't happen with every child the
Mm,
same. You have more than me, so you would know if it changes from child to child. But my son did not like
talk
me.
to
He didn't like me, and people won't be able to tell. But he hated me for the first 6 months. He hated my guts. Our
mm,
relationship is so close now because I had to fight for his attention. Like he
yeah.
hated me. His mom would be there. He was nice to me. Everything was cool. But as soon as she left, he would literally cry the entire time she was
Wow.
gone. And when she came back, he was cool again. We were friends. He was not my friend until she was around. Literally. So that's how we came so
Wow.
close because my wife would literally leave and let me and him spend time. She would
Mm,
purposely leave the house or go in another room, and that's how our bond became so tight. So the chemistry we have is very real. It's real. If you're ever around us, you'll see me and him are very close, like tight,
mm.
because I had to fight for that. He hated me.
Tell
He
me how
hated
that
me. I
affected
can't.
you, like during that
It
time. Like
affected me
I
mentally because I
imagine,
didn't
like,
think. Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna change. I literally
oh
was like,
wow.
damn, like my son hates me. How do I get him to, I try to do it, she does it, it works. And I'm just like, dang, like, is this gonna be forever? I was like discouraged because I didn't know what to do.
Mm,
So it affected me because I'm like, it was rejection,
yeah.
and at your big age, rejection is still a thing. Like you could be rejected,
Yes,
feel
sir.
rejected by your wife, you could feel rejected by your family, you could feel
Yes,
rejected by your
sir.
kids. So that was something I had to get over. Like, I'm your dad, I'm responsible for you. So if you're gonna cry, let's just get through it. Let's just cry. And I
Mm,
had moments where I wanted to shake the baby. They tell
yeah.
you don't shake the baby.
Oh shit,
I had
bro.
real
We've
moments
been
where,
there.
yeah, real moments where I'm like, man, if I just drop him or throw him, I'll feel better. But I can't do
Hmm.
it. Like that is,
Yeah,
oh man, man,
bro.
real.
I
You don't
love
think that
how
stuff is real.
vulnerable. No, I love how vulnerable you're being right now, because I've been in every single one of these moments, and I know there's so many fathers that have, and it's something they say, you're like, oh, you don't want to say that out loud, you're gonna scare people or this and that. You're not gonna go
No,
to
no,
jail for
no.
saying
That's
how you
reality.
felt in that moment,
No, no,
because
no,
that's
no.
the truth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just hearing this is a conversation we had the other day. You'll hear on the news, local news, channel 12, whatever, single mom kills baby, throws baby down or whatever, and like
Oh
kills baby.
Lord Jesus. Yeah, yeah.
And what you don't think about, like, especially if you're not a parent, right? You're like, how could she do this? And like,
Yeah.
for
Right,
us,
yeah,
you're like, that's still crazy, right? Like, that's la 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 la, right? But
yeah.
we've been to the place where we've almost broken. We
Yeah.
just had things that were set in place. When you're completely sleep deprived, when you have no support, and that baby is doing the exact opposite and getting every single thing out of you, you're mentally broken, you're all of these things. You get to that breaking point. If there's not something in place like your own mental strength or your support or somebody that you can use to take a break, that is what will happen.
Mm.
That is what
Imagine if
sometimes happens.
imagine if you have vices on top of that. Like
Mm,
imagine if you're going through something that's making you drink or making you smoke or whatever.
yeah.
Imagine that, and then the same
Oh man.
overstimulation, because that's all it is. You have problems being thrown at you, and you can't figure it out fast enough in the moment to stay relaxed. So that's where the negative thoughts start to come in. Like, I got to get out of here. So what they say
Yeah.
is really true. Like, if you're alone with your kids and you need a break and it's safe to leave, sometimes you just gotta walk out. Just go
Bro, say that.
outside.
Please say that one more
Literally,
time. Oh my God.
if you need a break, it's better that you take it than to stay in that environment and make a rash, like yell too much or push them down or do something like that you're gonna regret. So I've had moments where I like just squeezed them, and he's like,
Mhm.
ah, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
was.
I've been there. I've
Yeah,
been
so
there.
it's like you judging yourself at that moment, like, am I a bad person? Am I? But you literally have to take that break. So with him, when he was younger, uh, we could take turns doing it. But if you're by yourself, you literally just have to put him down in like the baby seat or whatever, the swing or whatever you have, and you literally got to go outside, breathe, calm yourself down. Okay, this is my son. We're gonna get through this, and just walk back in the room. Like you have to do it. Don't be like too good to do this stuff. Like you're not strong enough to be Superman all the time. So you
Yeah.
literally got to take your breaks when you need them, take your vacations when you need them. Don't be scared to send that baby to the grandma, because a lot of people judge
There we
people
go.
when like, you just had the baby, why is he already, man, F them
Do what
kids.
you
get
gotta
get
do.
your break, get your
Yes.
break, because you need it. You cannot be a good parent if you're not ready to parent. You can't give them what they need if you're not 100% there. So yeah, man, that's literally, oh, them cries do something to you. It's
Bro.
like
Like the first
your
week
kids
is all
crying is
cute.
like, man.
But after that, it's real. Like those,
Yeah.
and they just go and it goes. It's high pitch. And I've read a lot of research on like the differences between when a dad hears it versus when a mom hears it and what it
No,
does to
yeah.
our psyche.
Yeah.
But man, it'll make you freak out, bro. Like if you don't take a break,
Yeah.
it'll make you do some things.
100%. My wife is like, she cannot resist him crying. She can't. So I have to hold her steady sometimes. Like, man, he all right. He fine. Like, I know that's such a
Yeah,
dad thing to do, but literally, like, she gives in every single time. And for me, it's kind of like I have to, like you said, be more open and vulnerable about, okay, so what does this situation actually require? Because a lot
yeah,
of times when he's getting on my nerves, he's doing something wrong. Kind of like, man, let him cry. Like he knows what
yeah.
he's doing. But then there's
Right.
other times where that balance comes in. Like, okay, maybe I just need to hug him or say something that'll make him. Yeah. So very real, man. Very real everyday
There's
thing.
there's something that I wish they would put in place, or at least do a better job at, is having these conversations with fathers before they leave the hospital. Or when we come back on that
Mm,
1 week checkup, a lot of times there's a lot of questions to mom. How are you? How's this? How's the baby? We have conversation about postpartum depression. But if a father doesn't take the extra step to ask these questions about this or read the book or listen to a father podcast, they may feel very much alone and unprepared when these things happen. And
mm,
there has to be something put in
yeah.
place in our health system, or just do a mental check of both mom and dad. Tell them what resources they have. Maybe give them
Yeah.
some of these terms about overstimulation, sleep deprivation, so they can look it up for themselves if you got to. But I hate to leave parents blind when it's such a pivotal moment in your life in
Mm.
this transition of something completely new that you truly can't prepare for.
But that's the thing, man. Like, as a dad, you have to disregard those feelings of rejection, disregard those feelings of loneliness, of all that, because it does get like that when you feel like the kids love their mom, more than they love you, or they, that stuff is very real. So you have to be just as prepared as her, just as equipped as her, just as vulnerable as her. You gotta not be afraid to take on the duties that you might have let mom do. You got to change the diapers.
Yeah,
You got to babysit.
yeah,
You got to take them to the grocery
yeah.
store. You got to do all the things that she's doing to make sure that you can have that same connection, that same authority, that same influence in your household. So there's no such thing with me and my wife as a mom duty or a dad duty. There's no such thing because you got to get in the trenches just like she needs to get in the trenches. And that helps your relationship
Hmm.
and that helps your relationship with the kids. And the household is much more balanced that way. So yeah, dad's got to get in the trenches, man, and take over, read the books, do the diapers, all that. 100%. Yep.
That's
It's a
probably the
new
best
age.
advice I've heard for fathers, bro. It's like you got to get in the trenches, especially
Yeah,
in those first couple weeks and months, because that's
absolutely.
where I
Yeah.
think fatherhood and motherhood is very different. The mother has been going through this pregnancy phase of 9 months, and they feel very connected to the child. And for a lot of
Mm.
fathers, it doesn't really come real until the baby gets there. And now
Hmm.
all the baby wants to do is eat, and mom's
Yeah,
gonna hold the
exactly.
baby. And
Yep.
that relationship, you see it building, and you're kind of feeling the outside, and that can very much feel
Yeah.
like rejection and a lot of other things. So when you get that chance, you gotta find your time to invest and get in the trenches.
Yeah, 100%. Because you're never gonna outdo mom. You're never gonna
Yeah.
outdo mom, no matter what. Because mom, like you said, they get that first 9 months together, and they're inseparable. That like
Hmm.
if both of you are there, they're always gonna have that soft spot for the mom. So you just got to get
Yeah.
over that. You can't change that because you feel the same way about your mom. So you know
Yeah.
how
I'm
it
about to
goes.
say,
Like, yeah, you
yeah.
know how it goes. So you literally got to find your place in the household, and some people might struggle with that and get frustrated and take it out on their spouse or their kids. But that's not the move. Like you literally got to play your role. You got to play your
Yeah.
role. Have to. But that's very real. Dads should talk more about feeling rejected because it's
Hmm.
not all posting up with my son. Like it's not that all the time. Sometimes he don't want to listen to her. Sometimes he don't want to listen to me. His favorite flip flops every other. Well, he's in his mom phase right now, but it used to
Yeah.
flip flop. And I remember when she would not be as present home. She was busy, and then he was with me every day. Then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, he ain't messing with her. And she like, dang, you don't love me no more. Like, so it could flip flop. So you just got to be aware of it. But that dad's got to be much more open about that because we do feel out of place sometimes when you got all these kids and they distracting your wife. You like, dang,
Oh,
what
bro,
about me? Like,
don't get
like
me started.
literally, you gotta. I know
Don't.
that's a whole nother. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But
Woo.
she's splitting her attention. She's in mom mode 99
Yeah.
percent of the time. You're not gonna get her attention till you sit her down, you take the work computer away, you
Yes.
create an environment where she's having fun and relaxed. Like
Hmm.
I had to learn how to do that, and this is a whole nother sidebar, but I had to learn how to decompress my wife so that we can interact as husband and wife. That's a whole
Wow.
seminar. But just
Oh,
like literally her mind is literally being pulled in 20, 30 different places. So if you want her attention, you got to create an environment to get her attention, or
mm,
else it's not going to work. Like as soon as that baby cry, or I wonder what the baby's doing. Like when we drop her off,
yep.
drop the kid
Oh,
off she's thinking about that kid like the
nonstop.
whole time. Like,
Nonstop,
yeah,
bro.
I
Like,
miss my kid too. So yeah, you got to
yeah,
learn how to divvy up
I'm gonna
that
have to
attention
take
in that
this.
time.
I'm gonna have to take this clip and write it all down so we can have a conversation. If you wouldn't be opposed to at some point in the future, us two
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
back and
yeah.
having this conversation about
No,
rejection
it's
and creating an environment for you and your spouse, as you're
man.
having kids, to still be able to be intimate and have relationship with
Man,
each other.
listen,
Because time just
man,
goes
that.
on, man. I'll share one story before I ask like my last question. I
Hmm.
remember not even too long ago trying to build like the environment, right? Like you said, move the work laptop. And when you said creating that environment, I know for my wife, she's very much acts of service. So if I were to just clean
Mm,
the dishes, So she's not
Mm.
constantly thinking about that, even though the baby sleep
Mm-hmm.
and she don't got no work to do. She's like looking at the dishes, or looking at the table and everything looks cluttered. So I'm doing all those things, and I watch my wife completely from her head all the way down, body just completely relax, and her mind just completely
Mm.
relax. And the thing was, during
Yeah.
that time, I wasn't in the right mind space. I wasn't just doing it for her. I was doing it for me. I wasn't in the right space. I
Selfishly,
was like, okay, if I
yes.
do all these things, selfishly, I'm like, we can have some sex. You know what I'm saying? Like we can get it on tonight. And I remember watching all these different things work. And she just laid down on the bed as we were like watching some
Man,
TV, and she went right to sleep. And I know for months
yeah.
before that she had so much trouble just going to sleep at night. Mind
A win is
continuously
a win.
going and thinking about
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, yeah, I was like, man, a win is a win. And it definitely changed my perspective, and it made me start thinking I need to do
Man.
this a little bit more selfishly.
Yeah, but you want to know the realest thing I could ever tell you?
Talk
In
to me.
those moments, I Google like advice. I Google advice. Like, why doesn't my wife want to whatever, and I just read the
Yeah,
articles and I'm
yeah.
like, dang, like, is it me? Like, how do I? So I get frustrated a
It
lot,
feels
not
corny,
realizing,
but
yeah,
yes,
the answer is simple. The answer is
yes,
simple. When you take all these stresses and pressures away, you can get the person. But if she had a rough day, she had a rough day. There's nothing you can do to get her
yeah,
out of that. She had a rough day. So that's I Google, why is my wife not in the mood, or why is my wife so frustrated all the time, or why is my wife always sick? Like, I will Google that
yeah.
and remind myself and bring myself back to center. Like, literally the whole first 2 years of marriage I was Googling wife, and looking for the advice, because reality is it's
Wow.
always going to come back to the same thing. And you just got to be confident and reassured in your relationship and the foundation, and it's there. There's just these new
Yeah,
problems, new challenges. So it's not, you married the woman you married, she's still there, she's still there,
she's
but
still
she's taking on
there.
different roles. Yeah, taking on different roles, and your pride. And that's the thing with men, our pride can get in the way, right? Just like that,
Yeah.
just like that. And you start acting funny and trying to
Mm-hmm.
say little things. So when I'm frustrated with my wife, I get frustrated, and then she frustrated me because I'm frustrated, and now she like, dang, I was already frustrated, now you
Yeah.
frustrated too, and I'm supposed to. So yeah, me and my wife just have talks in the middle of the night all the time. Like, not all the time, but when we going through a patch where
Mm-hmm.
we frustrated, we'll just sit in the bed and we'll have it out right there,
Bro, I love it.
just whispering, because the baby's asleep, but we're
Mm-hmm.
like, but you did, all right, be quiet. We just literally like having it out. And once we have it out, we're good. Well, we can't not have that conversation, because the
Yeah.
frustration is real and it's there. It's sitting on your head. It's affecting how you act and think, and you got to get
Yes.
it out, and you got to do it in a respectful way. And that pride got to get tossed aside. Like, that's the woman you marry. You know who she is. You know her
Yeah.
character. Yeah. And the same thing with the kids. Like, yeah, so yeah, that's a whole different. Yeah,
Man,
don't get me started.
bro,
That's
I'm
a whole
telling you, this
thing.
podcast could easily go all the way to 2 hours if we really wanted to, because even what you're talking about is something that we do all the time. That's why I love that you two
Mm-hmm.
are not only educators, but you've taken the
Mm-hmm.
investment in marriage counseling, because it very much gives you those tools to be able to communicate through, to
Right.
one another when you're having those frustrations and things are just getting hard, or those rough patches come. But the last question I have for you is, what are you most passionate about in the fatherhood space? Like, what are you most passionate about in being a father, and what are you doing to invest in that?
So for me, finding my purpose took me till like I was like 25. Like, I went to school and all these things, but it wasn't like clicking for me. Like, what am I gonna do every day for the rest of my life that makes me genuinely happy? And it's something called your ikigai, and it's like a three-circle thing, and in the middle is your life. So it's like what you love, what makes you happy, what your talent is, and right in the middle is what you should strive to do every day. So for me, it was connecting people to opportunity, and developing people in a way that maybe they wouldn't normally get. So for me, I like working with kids and molding them into leaders, and helping them reach that next level they want to get to. So I do that now through everybody being my kid. Literally, when you become a parent, you can't not be a parent. That parent mode is 24/7. So literally working with kids in my school or working with kids on the basketball court, or like, I enjoy giving them that game that we've already been through this. Like, literally, hey, just do this and make sure you know about this and you're on top of this. Like, that is my daily passion. So as a father, the same energy I'm pouring into my son, I'm pouring into everybody's kids. And that's literally, what I wake up every day and do with my time. So as long as I can help people and connect them to opportunity, then I'm fulfilled and I'm happy. So any job or career that I move in that space, that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, I wasn't that way until I became a father. Literally,
Yeah.
I realized working with kids was my passion. My mom and dad did it, so obviously that's an easy assist from them. But since I became a father, like, it's just been kicked up tenfold, definitely.
Man.
So yeah, helping these kids navigate. So that's what I'm excited about fatherhood, and the platform that I'm working on is just helping dads get excited and educated
Yeah.
about what they get into. And like I said, that narrative, that it all stemmed back to that narrative about Black fathers and trying to change that. And because, like I said, that's not our reality, man. That's not our reality. I know all my friends who were playboys and all that stuff back in college days, like, they're the best dads ever. They're the
Mm.
best dads ever. They're so attentive. They're so involved. They're so vulnerable. They're present. And that was my only goal, is that be present for my family, be present for everybody. So fatherhood changed that for me. And I'm kind of like a family guy now. It's super cliche, but yeah, I'm a family man. Yep.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm there with you, bro. Cam, this has been extremely valuable, like way more than I ever could have asked for. And I know our audience is going to get so much out of it because I know I got so much out of it. I can't wait to get a
Mm.
chance to talk with you again about this. We'll probably have some conversations offline, but for the Here for the Dads crew, I want you to hear from him as well, where you can find him. Where can they find you? I know you're in multiple spaces before I cut this thing down.
So right now it's just Father's Day Club on TikTok and Instagram. I will probably be doing more things in the future, but as far as right now, those two places you can see, kind of like what we do day to day. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Father's Day Club, and yeah, I'm
Awesome.
working on getting it across the country. Like I said, these conversations over brunch with a host. And we just have
Yeah.
these workshops and these spaces where we can learn, like, especially people that are jumping into it for the first time. Like, yeah, it's a journey, man.
Let me know how I can be a part of it. Guys, you
No,
heard it
for
here
man,
first.
listen. Once I kick that off, bro, that's my goal. That's the whole name. That was the goal. That was the intention. So all this other stuff that's happening is not, like, that's just the means to the end.
Yeah.
I
About to say,
saw. I see
that's
it.
just building the audience for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I love that you're here today. Here for the dads. Out. Thank you for watching. You just listened to Here for the Dads podcast with Meyer Crawl. I am so grateful that you're here. But if you're new to this space, what I need you to do is slow down and subscribe, share, review, or rate. Whatever you can to help me out, because I'm on a journey to create a space for existing fathers and new fathers that's going to allow them to be a little bit more confident and a little bit more efficient at what they're doing. Thank you.